Welcome to JK Workshop, and welcome to my shop.
Garage.
Shop tour. Now, I feel like a lot of people started out just like me. You bought an old house, you watched a few YouTube videos, you fixed a few things, you watched a few more YouTube videos, you built a few things, and the hobby grew from there. I've been woodworking for about 6 years now, and I feel that my shop is a realistic representation of someone working with a small budget, woodworking as a hobby, and completing projects around the house. Now, I do have plans to build and grow my shop, but for me, that's going to have to take place incrementally and over time.
All right, let's dive in. On the right side of the shop is where I currently have my router table. This was a garage sale find I couldn't pass up. It can easily be wheeled out to the middle of the shop and hooked up to dust collection. The table lifts up for easy adjustment, and inside I store router bits with my trim router underneath. Behind it, I have some pipe clamps, jigs, and straight edges. I have a couple of rolling tool carts, also from garage sales, and fill them with a lot of the things I don't access as often, as well as most of my screws and fasteners. On top, I have my chargers, and beside them is my drill press, which I got off Marketplace. I don't love this spot for it, but I also don't use it enough to find a better location. Tucked in behind are my Ryobi, my battery power tools. I've been planning to make a tool storage and charging station for a few years now, but you know what? Turns out, shelf works just fine. These are relatively inexpensive tools, but honestly for me, someone who doesn't use them all day every day, they've been great. Whatever you do get though, I would recommend that you commit to a specific brand with these types of tools so that they can share the same batteries. Moving on over, we have my pegboard. I have a love-hate relationship with this thing. I love having my tools easily accessible, but I hate how crappy it is. I have to be very careful taking most of my tools off, or the pegs just fall right out.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
A better quality pegboard would probably solve the problem, but I think a French cleat system could be a fun project as well. I also have a couple bench vices where I can pretend I'm good with my hand planes. Next up, we have my Kreg pocket hole jig and Craftex disc sander, also both from classified ads. You might be noticing a theme of secondhand tools here. I'm planning to mount the jig to a board so I can more easily clamp it down to my workbench. In the drawer, I have stuffed all my sandpaper, and underneath I have some corded power tools like my angle grinder, electric planer, and belt sander. Here is a bit of a holdover from my earlier days in the garage. Shop. I was given this JobMate workbench and miter saw, and would previously clamp any tools I had into the stand with a base like this, making them super portable and easy to swap out. I've been clearing out this side of the shop a bit, and would like to eventually build a miter saw station. It's not super high on the list right now though. Next up is my little shop vac and homemade dust separator, attached to my hose which I have hanging overhead. It has quick connect attachments, which makes it really nice for swapping between tools. In the left corner is a mess of scraps and cutoffs, as well as some plywood storage. I have some more lumber storage here as well. These areas definitely could use some work. In the center of the shop, we have my saw stop. Ha, just kidding. We have my DeWalt job site table saw, cart, and rolling workbench. This was one of my first bigger purchases, and it has been great. I really like the rack and pinion setup for the fence. I keep all my table saw accessories and jigs in the cart. Behind it is my rolling workbench with my compressor underneath. All my shop furniture is made from materials I was given for free or was left over from other projects. So no, those aren't dog holes on my workbench. It's just an old piece of plywood that had rock climbing holds on it. Plywood is not cheap, okay? This was based on Steve Ramsey's basic mobile workbench. It's basic and it's mobile. Tucked over here is my planer, which I can wheel out and use when needed. The saw and workbench can be rolled to the side so we can pull a vehicle in or have room for activities.
Look at all this floor space. So many aerobics in here. So many activities.
The rest of the shop is a dumping ground for household items and sports equipment, but we don't talk about that.
Now, there are of course a number of improvements I would like to make to this space. The two big ones right now aren't very exciting. They're electrical and insulation. Right now I have to run an electrical cord to the house just so I'm not constantly blowing a breaker. After that, adding insulation would allow me to be in here for more of the year. As of right now, I basically have to shut down projects for most of the winter. So that is definitely second on my list. That about does it for my shop tour. It's definitely not filled with expensive tools and features. And yes, it's a work in progress, but it's my work in progress. Cheers.